Alright, here's how to find coaches who are not corporate and might need help with email marketing. So filters that I would go for there are different things you could do here in job titles. I've been lazy and just put the management level. But here you put like CEO and CMO, Director of Marketing, VP of Marketing. Like you come up with 10 to 15 job titles here. This is a pretty good proxy that I'll often start with. Just checking all these three, but then you won't get something like VP of Marketing, VP of Sales, etc. And those can be useful because not only the founder and lead coach is necessarily the decision maker, but okay, this is a starting point. Next, we have employee count. You can use this for a couple of things. One, it can be a proxy for revenue. And two, you can use it to eliminate people that you don't want. So if you don't want complete beginners, you might use a custom range and cut this off at 3 or 5. Right? If they have some employees, then they're not a complete beginner. Right? And the other thing is, like, you choose an upper limit. If it's a coach who has 100 employees, that depends who you're going after, right? Maybe it is who you're going after, but for a lot of, I'd say, copywriting services, that might not be your starting point. Again, it depends on what exactly your offer is, but you might do something like this. With a slightly higher cutoff, you might go up to 50. Now, the next part is industry and keywords. Since we want to avoid corporate consultants, say, I would choose this industry. This is a decent starting point. You could do this all with keywords, but then you have to come up with a keyword list. So a simple way to get started is to do the professional training coaching category, plus you exclude the keywords management and corporate. No set of filters is going to be 100% perfect. That's not what you're looking for here. You're looking for 80 to 90%. If you go through these and say, yeah, that's pretty close. Another thing you could do is in technologies, you could go, marketing, and then literally choose all of these tools. In this case, I wouldn't necessarily, because your target audience might use a tool that's not on this list. But there are two ways to do this. One is you could choose certain tools or all of the tools in the email marketing category and say, okay, these are my most qualified prospects, I'm going to start with these. Or you could just leave this blank and have a bigger list. So it depends how specific you want to be. If you're doing one-to-many outreach, you probably want the bigger list. If you're doing one-to-one outreach, you probably want the more narrowly targeted list. So, and then you could say choose a specific category and reach out to all the people who have on report. Okay, maybe a bad example. In that case, maybe I remove this last filter and see what happens there. But you could reach out specifically to these people and talk about on report, and do the same thing with active campaign, and do the same thing with whatever the next one is. Finally, what I've done here is I've added an employees by department filter for the sales department and said I want just those coaches who have at least 2 salespeople. This does a couple of things. One is this pretty much guarantees that they've figured out traffic. It doesn't tell you what source, it doesn't tell you if they're advertising or if they're created organic or anything else, right? But if they have 2 salespeople on staff, as opposed to 1, which might be just an aberration. Someone comes in, they stay for a month, they leave, they update their LinkedIn profile, whatever it is. 1 isn't as strong a signal. It's not a bad signal, but 2 is already, it's fairly unlikely that someone's going to have 2 salespeople on their team and not have traffic figured out to a good extent. So this is a really powerful filter. If I take it away, we go from 1,000 contacts to 39,000, right? So you can see right there the difference in specificity and the extent to which it will be a qualified lead. That's not to say the other ones aren't qualified, but they just have a different setup. So you can find that in here, employees by department. You can do 1 and see what happens there. As you can see here, there are 3,200 records. We bump that up to 2, and then we'll change here. So as you can imagine, this will also depend if you have a low employee count, what percentage of their staff is going to be salespeople. So if you want to go beyond this, you would probably want to increase the employee count here. So there are different ways that these different parameters can interact with one another, but these are the main parameters that I would be looking at. You can also look for location. I prefer not to do this because you never know. Like someone can be living in Dubai or in Bali or wherever, and you might not capture a lot of the coaching audience just because a lot of them are mobile. Like Colombia, they could be all over the place. So I generally don't filter by this, though it's not wrong to just choose the US and the UK or anything like that. That's usually not what I will go for. So I would play around with these sorts of parameters, and when you're happy with both the number of contacts, 3 salespeople, number of contacts, and you've spot checked the list to see what sort of people are actually coming up, what sort of companies are actually coming up in this search results area, then you can get the email addresses. So hopefully that helps.